been making all of our own compost for several years now. We not only compost organic material generated on site, like kitchen scraps, yard waste, comfrey, and autumn leaves, but we also take advantage of free resources in the community, like used coffee grounds, spent brewery grains, horse manure, straw, wood chips, and our neighbors' grass clippings and autumn leaves. Despite all these resources, however, it still can sometimes be a challenge to make enough compost. This year in particular poses a challenge because we're planning to build some new raised beds, and filling them with homemade compost will require significantly more compost than we usually make. To help meet these needs, last fall I started a new compost pile on a fallow garden bed. I cobbled together a temporary bin out of rebar, conduit, and chicken wire. My thinking was that since we already had 3 permanent bins and no space for a new one, I'd set up temporary bins on fallow garden beds when needed. I filled the bin with the compost ingredients I mentioned earlier, and the pile quickly heated up. I even built a little hoop house over it to help it keep cooking for as long as possible into the late fall and early winter. The pile stayed hot at its center well into December, and I never saw a reading below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, despite a very cold winter. Now that spring is here and the pile is no longer active, I want to turn the pile to see if it will heat up again. I also want to move it from this location, where I plan to build a new raised bed, to this area, where we won't be planting until mid-May. Though the temporary bin I cobbled together last fall worked well enough to make it through the winter, we'll need something more durable and effective going forward. Ideally, the new bin would be inexpensive, portable, durable, and easy to assemble, disassemble, and store. I also wanted something that would look better and hold compost better than the chicken wire bin. I picked up a Geobin Compost bin on Amazon.com for $28.99 including shipping. I believe this bin will meet all of my criteria. It's 3 feet tall and has an adjustable diameter up to 3.5 feet, which is perfect for hot composting. It's made from 50% recycled plastic, rolls up nicely for storage, and is assembled easily using these plastic locking keys. So I set the new bin up on a garden bed that will remain fallow for another 6 weeks or so, and started moving the compost pile. Moving compost from one bin to another is a great way to thoroughly turn a large pile. In the process, you mix up the browns and greens, break up clumps of compacted material, aerate the compost, and hopefully get the pile to heat up and finish breaking everything down. When I moved the pile, I first moved unfinished material from the top and outer edges of the pile and placed it at the bottom and center of the new pile, where it will break down more quickly. Here you can see how I removed the material from the outer edges first, before touching the center of the pile. Because the compost was under plastic all winter, I added some snow every now and then to ensure enough moisture in the pile. I was happy to see that the compost near the center of the pile was dark, rich, and fairly well decomposed. A good turning and a little more time, and I'll have some very good compost. While moving the pile, I also kept an eye out for red wigglers. Last fall the compost was full of them, and I hoped the pile offered enough warmth and protection over the winter that a good number of them survived. Fortunately, I was very pleased to find a lot of adult red wigglers. That's great news, and it's good to know that a pile this size will help the red wigglers survive even a very cold winter. They'll be a great help in continuing to break down the compost over the next several weeks. By the time I had the new bin almost full, it was pretty obvious there wouldn't be enough room to move all of the compost. So after moving as much as I could, I went ahead and turned the pile of leftover compost. Put some snow on top for moisture, and covered it in plastic. I also covered the new bin in plastic. We have several weeks of freezing temperatures left, and the plastic will help heat the piles up more quickly. If all goes well, I'm hoping to have enough compost to fill a new raised bed in mid-May. At that time, because of all the aged wood chips in the pile, I'll no doubt have to sift the compost to remove unprocessed material. Even after sifting, I should have enough compost to fill the new bed. And speaking of the new bed, there's going to be something special about it that I'll share with you in a video soon. Well, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, remember, you can change the world 1 yard at a time.